Evening Troopers? I'm fat, but whose video are you watching right now, eh? Now who's laughing? Empty victory, I guess. But you got to take your victories where you get them. I'm really hot. I'm hotter than the hottest thing in Dr. Jalfrezi's shop of chilies. It's disturbing my concentration. This is like take 4. I don't normally do takes. I blast it out. Do you know what I mean? Boom! Charisma! Whoa! 3D and then it's done. But it's taking a bit of time tonight. So I'm going to try and be a bit more animated and a bit more concentrated so that you guys come closer. Yeah. I'm talking about Nintendo controllers tonight. Starting with this. Yeah, and you, pal. Because I don't think that Nintendo have ever forgiven us for the N64. They've not forgiven us. Because we didn't get it. And they loved it. And they thought they'd given us something that would change our lives. And at best we went, yeah, controller's alright. And at worst we went, what are you giving me here, bruv? I need 3 hands. I can't game with 3 hands. I've only got 2. But where did it all start? Well, it started probably before this. But we'll start with this because it's my video and it's the earliest one I've got to deal with it. So this is the NES controller. It's the bare minimum that a controller needs to do. It's just a rectangle with round, square edges, couple of buttons. Here, I have your buttons, and have your D-pad, and have your start and select. That's it. But it's become a bit of an icon. It's a bit Bauhausy with the black and the grey and the red, classy. I really like it as an object. It's instantly recognisable. You see it on bags, wallets, all kinds of stuff. I think there's probably some dude cutting through the jungle in South America with a bone through his nose, and if you showed him that, go, oh yeah, it's a NES controller. I've got a NES Mini in the hut. I'd like to think so. But this is like year 0. This is Iron Man, 2008, right? And then eventually we wanted a bit more because the games are getting more and more complicated. And then we moved on to the SNES controller, which I prefer to the North American with its Parma Violet buttons. Oh, purple, I love purple. Grow up, right? Primary colours. No, there's very little decoration, but rounded edges so it actually fits a human's hands. Shoulder buttons. Now that was a new thing. Do like a shoulder button. Fits in the hand really nicely. It's exactly, both of them are the right size, the right thickness, just to fit your fingers. Any human hand within reason. I'm sure there's like basketball players with hands like plates that are like, oh, this is no good, oh, this is no good. But I've got moderately sized hands. I would say medium. They've never done a day's work in their life, these. And these fit both of them lovely. I think more thought than it looks probably went into these. And then came the big one. And when I say big one, I mean mind-losing, bonkers, crazy N64 controller. And you can see the evolution a little bit. You know, it's essentially the same. They're almost the same size if you take out the madness. You know, you've got they've added 2 more buttons because you've got to keep adding 2 buttons. That's Nintendo's thing. They've added 2 more buttons. You've got the start in the middle. You've got the D-pad. You've got a joystick for reasons. You've got the old shoulder buttons, and then you've got your slot for either your memory card or your rumble pack. Either. This is no Sega Dreamcast. Oh no. And you can either play it like that with a trigger, or you can play it like that, like a traditional controller. It tried to do both things at once and sort of failed at both. Just like I try and be a husband and a lover and fail at both. But that's between me and you. And everyone watching. We didn't really dig it, did we? It wasn't something that caught the imagination. It caught the imagination because it's just bonkers. Which is a shame because I know what they were trying to do. They wanted it to be a D-pad, like a normal paddle controller that we were used to, and a shooty. Because if you remember back to the N64, there was a lot of first-person shooters on the N64. There was Turok, there was GoldenEye, which is still top 5 best games ever, shut up. There was Duke Nukem 64. There was quite a few. Perfect Dark. Although that was a later one, so they didn't know that was coming. But do you know what I mean? It seemed to be a platform there was Doom 64. That was really good. It seemed to be a platform that suited first-person shooters, and you know that works really nicely because you've got your joystick but then you need another hand and you've got to hook it over to do. Who needs that noise? So then, finally, for the next game console, which was the GameCube. Is that right? Yeah, GameCube was next, and then sensibleness. Well, this is the N64's slightly more sober mate at the party. The N64 is bonkers. It's like shotgun in tins of spesh, dancing on the table, and then his slightly more sober mate comes on and goes, "Look, mate, let's keep the same basic shape, right? But we'll get rid of that thing in the middle, and then we'll just move everything so it makes a bit more sense. So we'll move the joystick we'll move the D-pad down, and we'll add another joystick. And if you look at it, it's essentially a Mark II N64 that's not bonkers. You've got your two triggers, pew pew, and then you've got a third one because Nintendo, symmetry's for wussers. You've got your big old A button, and then everything around that, because that's all that matters. And then you've got two analog sticks, and then your D-pad in case that's how you want to live your life. And this is a nice controller, and it shows a bit of design, but there's still a bit of lineage going back. In fact, there's more lineage, I think, going back to that. If you think about it, that's still a very similar size. There's still the same kind of colours going on, the yellow at the bottom, the green, the red. And this was a successful console for Nintendo, but it wasn't. It was an end of a line. It was the end of a line, and then after the GameCube, they drew a line. Yeah, that didn't work. Just ignore that. Move on. I'm not doing it again. This is like fifth take. Deal with it. And then they went, you know what? You don't like all the fancy stuff we've given you. You didn't like the N64 where you needed three hands, and you didn't like the GameCube one where we made it like work. So here, have that. Yeah, you'd like it, wouldn't you? And if you think about it, this is just this again. You've got your D-pad, you've got your two buttons, you've got your start and select, and a couple of others. But you've also got your wavy bit that everyone loved. Old people's homes were buying Wiis. The Redknaps were on telly selling Wiis. I don't care. They were. I've mentioned the Redknaps before. This makes me mad. They're just a footballing family, and she was a pop star and he was a footballer. But they were selling us Wiis. Nothing they do I'm interested in, right? And then, you know, you get this little rubber johnny around it. It's got the old N64 trigger back. It's like a lightsaber. It's elegant. And you know what? I think this is quite timeless as well. I think this is crisp and it's effortless and it's not dated. I really like the Wii controller. I really do. And I've also got one of these, like the Pro version, but I don't think it's legit. It's very light. And then, of course, I plug it into a black one because I'm not an animal. Don't be thinking I'm plugging this into a white one because it's black. I've got a black steering wheel as well. If you're at home and you've got a black one of them and you're using a white steering wheel for Mario Kart, then your days are numbered, mate, because that's wrong. Right? Your Wii controller's got to match your steering wheel, otherwise you're wrong. Think on. So then they had to go. I'm back on track now. Rewind that. That was all a bit of fun. I'm not really going to murder you for using. I am. And then the Wii moved over to the Wii U, and then Nintendo went, do you know what? I'm bored of being elegant. Let's just go nuts. And they gave us this. And they went, what features do you want on your controller? And we went, well, bits. And they went, yeah, well, let's put all of them on. And we went, all right, okay, let's see what that's like. What it's like is mayhem. So you've got your 4 buttons, and you've got more buttons, and you've got more buttons. You've got a button that controls your TV. You've got more buttons over here. You've got a D-pad, you've got a joystick, you've got another joystick, you've got a home button. You've got more triggers on the back, you've got shoulder buttons triggers. It's just everywhere. It's like having to learn how to use a space shuttle, and you've got a screen to keep clean and a camera. God knows who's watching me through that camera. I dread to think. And there's a stylus as well, because why wouldn't there be? The only nice thing is it comes in its own little lunchbox. So I can keep some like cheese and ham and stuff in there. And I've got a little cleaner for it. Isn't that lovely? For wiping it, and it goes over your finger. Oh, how cool am I now? Don't you wish, if you're a lady watching this, you're thinking, oh, I wish he was my man. Because I'm doing that, look. Oh, yeah. It's branded. It's official, bro. Official. And that's Nintendo. I like the fact that they've kept... There is a design lineage through all of the controllers. There is. And there's a colour palette that went 3/4 of the way through. I genuinely do think that they thought the N64 controller was the controller to end all controllers. And I think when we weren't sure and we rejected it, I think they sulked. I think they did. And that's why they released basically an improved mark for the GameCube. Because I'm convinced that the GameCube, it's almost like a third party N64 controller where some like mad cats went, mate, we're not matching that. That's just bonkers. Let's just make something sensible. That's my theory anyway. My favourite out of them all, I haven't said all I've said. I think it could be the N64, just because it's so bonkers. But when we're talking about actually design, elegance, the door's just opened, ghosts, I think the winner's got to be the Wiimote. Just because it is so of its time, crisp. It's very early 2000s. I'm surprised it's not transparent and like blue. I really like it. So that's me finished for tonight. Bit of a ramble. Check out my other videos. I did one on Resident Evil last night. There's a couple of others in the week that you might not have seen. Hope you've enjoyed them. If you have, like and subscribe. It's all below. And check out tomorrow night where we'll go, what's on my shelf? And I can almost guarantee you what's on my shelf is going to be probably stuff that you've already got. Or you've seen at a car boot. Anyway, thanks for watching. Good night.